In the grand ballroom of the Harrington estate, under crystal chandeliers that wept light like frozen tears, Alexander Harrington stood frozen, a glass of champagne trembling in his hand. The air hummed with laughter from the elite guests, his board members, socialites, and the woman he thought was his future. Victoria, radiant in ivory silk, her laughter a siren's call, had just leaned into the ear of a younger executive, her hand lingering too long on his arm. But it was his son, Ethan, 10 years old, wide-eyed and trembling in his too big tuxedo, who shattered the illusion. "Daddy," Ethan whispered, tugging at Alex's sleeve, his small voice slicing through the din like a knife. "Auntie Vicky isn't who she says. I saw her with him. In the garden. She said you were just a wallet, not a heart." The words landed like a gut punch, the room spinning into a vortex of betrayal. Alex's chest caved in, the weight of 20 years building an empire crashing down in one boy's innocent truth. He dropped the glass. It shattered like his dreams, shards scattering like the fragments of his trust. In that instant, the CEO who commanded boardrooms felt utterly, devastatingly small, a man exposed, raw, his heart bleeding out on the marble floor amid indifferent applause. Alexander Harrington woke to the sterile hum of his penthouse, the city skyline mocking him through floor-to-ceiling windows. It had been 3 days since Ethan's revelation at the engagement gala, a night that should have sealed his future with Victoria Langford, the poised socialite who'd whispered promises of forever while plotting her escape with his junior VP. The headline screamed it now. Harrington heirs fiancé, flees with lover, CEO left in ruins. But Alex refused to read them. Denial wrapped around him like a cocoon, brittle and suffocating. "It's a misunderstanding," he muttered to his reflection in the mirror, his once sharp jawline softened by stubble, eyes hollowed by sleepless nights. Ethan must have misheard. Kids imagine things. He straightened his tie, the silken noose, and descended to the kitchen where the aroma of fresh coffee battled the ghosts in his mind. Maria Thompson moved like quiet grace through the space, her dark curls tied back, her uniform crisp despite the early hour. She'd been his housemaid for 8 years, hired after his first wife's death in that senseless car crash that left Ethan motherless and Alex adrift. Maria, with her warm brown skin and eyes that held stories of her own, a single mother from the South, scraping by on dreams deferred, had become the invisible thread holding his home together. She didn't pry, didn't fawn, she simply was. Now, as she set a plate of eggs before him, her gaze lingered a beat too long. "Mr. Harrington, you should eat. The boy's asking for you." Ethan. The name twisted the knife. Alex's son, with his mop of unruly brown hair and fierce loyalty, had become his unwitting executioner. Upstairs, in the playroom cluttered with forgotten Legos and dog-eared books, Ethan sat cross-legged on the rug, building a tower that teetered on collapse. "Daddy." His voice was small, laced with the fear of a child who'd wielded a truth too heavy. Alex sank beside him, the denial cracking like dry earth. You did good, buddy. But maybe it wasn't what it seemed." Ethan's face crumpled, tears carving paths down freckled cheeks. "I heard her, Daddy. On the phone. Alex is loaded, but boring. This guy's got fire. I didn't want to hurt you." The words echoed Victoria's venom, and for the first time, Alex let them sink in, not as a child's fancy, but as gospel. Pain bloomed, a visceral ache in his ribs, as if his heart were literally fracturing. That afternoon, denial gave way to a storm of agony. Alone in his study, surrounded by ledgers of success, deals closed, empires built, Alex wept. Not the controlled tears of a boardroom defeat, but guttural sobs that shook his frame. "How could I be so blind?" he rasped to the empty room, fists clenched against the oak desk. Victoria's face haunted him, her laughter at galas, her hand in his during quiet dinners, all fabricated. He'd poured his soul into her, mistaking her ambition for affection, her polish for depth. The betrayal wasn't just romantic, it was a mirror to his failures, as a lover too busy to notice, a father too absent to shield his son. Memories flooded, the way she dismissed Maria with a cool glance, calling her the help behind closed doors. And Ethan, bearing the weight of adult secrets, his innocence scarred. Maria found him there, hours later, the sun dipping low. She knocked softly, entering with a tray of tea, chamomile, her remedy for storms. "Sir?" "Alex," she ventured, using his name for the first time, her voice a gentle tide. He looked up, startled, his vulnerability laid bare. She set the tray down, her hands steady where his trembled. "I've seen you build walls higher than this city, but pain like this? It don't respect stone. Let it out." Her words, simple and unadorned, pierced the fog. Maria shared a fragment of her own story then, not demanded, but offered like a balm. "Lost my husband young. Thought the world ended. But one morning, I woke and chose to water my plants anyway. Small things, they root you." Ethan wandered in then, clutching a drawing, a lopsided heart with 3 stick figures, Daddy, me, and Maria. "For you," he mumbled, bridging the chasm with crayon lines. As night fell, the pain ebbed into a dull throb. Alex sat on the balcony, Ethan asleep against his side, Maria tidying below. Internal whispers warred. Asterisk, "You're a fool, Harrington." 45, alone again. Asterisk, but beneath, a flicker. Asterisk, "You survived the crash." The boardroom wars. This too. Asterisk, denial had shattered. Pain laid him low, but in the quiet, with a boy's trust and a woman's unspoken kindness, the first seed of reflection stirred. He wasn't whole yet, but he was breathing, raw, real, and perhaps ready to see. Weeks blurred into a tentative rhythm in the Harrington penthouse, the city's relentless pulse a distant echo to Alexander's inner reckoning. Reflection had settled like autumn leaves over the scars of betrayal, turning raw wounds into fertile ground. No longer did he pace the nights replaying Victoria's lies. Instead, he journaled by lamplight, words spilling like confessions. Asterisk, "What did I chase in her?" Status? "A mirror to my ambition." Asterisk, the pages filled with truths unearthed. His first marriage, rushed in grief, crumbling under neglect. His rise as CEO, a fortress built on control, not connection. Ethan's exposure hadn't just toppled a fraud. It had cracked the pedestal Alex had placed himself on, revealing a man starved for genuine touch. Mornings now held small victories. Ethan, once withdrawn, began sharing school tales over breakfast, his laughter a melody Alex had nearly forgotten. "Daddy, Maria says plants talk if you listen." Alex glanced at her across the table, where she poured juice with quiet efficiency, her smile a secret shared. Their interactions deepened, unhurried. Conversations in the laundry room about her love for jazz records, or Ethan's piano lessons where she'd hum along, her voice rich as soil. One rainy afternoon, as thunder rattled the windows, Ethan tugged them into the living room for a fort of blankets and chairs. "We're explorers," he declared, flashlight beam dancing. Inside the cocoon, stories flowed. Maria recounting her grandmother's folk tales of resilient roots. Alex admitting his boyhood dreams of sailing uncharted seas. Laughter mingled with tears. Ethan's for a lost puppy, Alex's for the father he'd become. "You're my hero, Daddy," Ethan whispered, curling into his lap. In that moment, wisdom bloomed. Children don't measure love in fortunes, but in presence. Maria became the unexpected mentor, her warmth a steady flame. Not through grand speeches, but gestures, a shared pot of gumbo on Sundays, her recipe from New Orleans, spicy with memory. "Healing ain't linear, Alex," she said one evening, as they washed dishes side by side, suds bubbling like unspoken hopes. "It's like this water, slips through, cleans what it touches, leaves you drier but clearer." Her eyes met his, holding a depth he'd overlooked, the quiet love that had watched him grieve, succeed, falter. She'd loved him not for the title, but the tenderness beneath, the way he'd read to Ethan after nightmares, or left notes of thanks on her paycheck. Reflection peeled back his blindness. She saw me when I was invisible to myself. A stranger at the market sparked it further, an elderly vendor, gnarled hands offering apples. "Bite the bruised side first, son. Sweetest juice there." Alex chuckled, the words resonating. Embrace the flawed heart. Personal growth unfurled in layers. Alex delegated board meetings, reclaiming evenings for walks in the park. Ethan skipping stones, Maria linking arms with easy familiarity. Doubts lingered, internal dialogues fierce. Asterisk, your broken goods. Who'd want this? Asterisk, but victories mounted. A promotion for a long-overlooked employee, echoing his own undervalued years. Therapy sessions where he voiced the trauma of loss, voice steadying. With Maria, vulnerability flowered into confession. On a crisp fall evening, atop the estate's garden terrace, stars pricking the velvet sky, he took her hand. "You've been my anchor, Maria. Not out of duty, but love. Real, quiet, true." Tears traced her cheeks, not sorrow but release. "I've waited, Alex. Not for the CEO, but the man who mends." Their kiss was slow, a healing balm, tasting of forgiveness, promise. The wedding came softly, in spring's bloom, an intimate affair in the estate gardens, Ethan as ring-bearer, petals scattering like confetti from healed hearts. Alex, in simple linen, vowed not empires, but partnership. Maria, radiant in lace, promised the strength of roots entwined. As they danced under lanterns, Ethan's grin wide, Alex felt renewal's embrace. Self-acceptance not as endpoint, but journey. Peace in scars that told of survival. Emotional renewal in love unfeigned. In the quiet after, Alex stood alone on the balcony, wind whispering renewal. "You are enough," he told the man in the mirror, not despite the breaks, but because of them. Betrayal had stripped him bare, but in the void, he'd found his true north, a heart open to the love that had always been there, waiting. Moral of the story. True healing blooms not from erasing the scars of betrayal, but from tending the soil of self-compassion, where quiet acts of kindness, from a child's honesty to a steadfast companion's grace, cultivate the inner strength to love anew, reminding us that our worth is woven in authenticity, not illusions.